This is Let's Talk Big, the Big Read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel. The Owens Community College Campus Read is taking place now and throughout the semester with the goal of bringing awareness of different perspectives through books. The Campus Read book is Carrie, a Memoir of Survival on Stolen Land, from 2020 recipient of the NEA Creative Writing Fellowship, Toni Jensen. It's a memoir and essays about gun violence, land, and Indigenous women's lives. Now, sharing passages, topics, and events related to the book, Carrie, a Memoir of Survival on Stolen Land, is Owens Community College Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Professor of English, Jen Hazel.
I'm Jen Hazel, and I really am Jen Hazel. And I'm saying this even though this is like literally 2 weeks in a row like this. But I promise that I don't promise because I have no idea if my voice is coming back. But let's hope that it does, because I know you guys miss my real voice. But Jane, can you attest that it is actually me?
It is Jen Hazel, live and in person behind the mic.
So with that, we're going to get started. Jane?
I have a passage.
Okay. All right.
This is down and dirty, very deep. Very relevant, very important. Page 186, in case anybody wants to take a peek. Indigenous women and children are sold for sex to trafficking camp workers. They are exchanged, they are bartered, they are trafficked, they are supply meeting demand. They are made to be goods on the land their families once inherited, their own lands. The taking by force of our land has always been twinned with the taking by force of our bodies, of our most vulnerable bodies, our women, our children. In the back and shale play in the Dakotas, there's been a 30% increase of sex trafficking cases filed in the last 3 years. In rural northern Pennsylvania, along the New York State border, sex trafficking around the Marcellus shale sites has grown so great that the YWCA received a $500,000 federal grant to provide help to trafficked women and children, many of whom came from nearby reservations in New York. The organization Sing Our Rivers Red has taken its art exhibit to New York and North Dakota and to most states across the country. They collect single earrings and display them on red backdrops to memorialize the missing and murdered Indigenous women. The taking by force of our land has always been twinned with the taking by force of our bodies. That just, it's sickening. And it's not anything I ever knew. So many things make the news that are horrifying. Somehow this never makes it. And why? Why is that?
It is interesting that we hear a lot about, in general, like someone is murdered, someone might be missing, and I don't mean Indigenous people. We don't hear a lot of that.
No.
But we don't often hear much about trafficking.
Correct. It was kind of a hot button thing in the Toledo area a few years ago. I heard quite a bit about it because of our proximity to the turnpike and the various freeways, that Toledo is a hot spot for this to happen.
Because of 75 and you can get into Canada super fast.
Right.
Or like you just, like you're in a boat over and there you are.
Right. And there was a lot of discussion about it, and I'm not really quite sure. I don't remember what precipitated that discussion. But again, it was just talking about trafficking of locals in the Toledo area. It never expanded beyond like the bigger case, the bigger picture of trafficking. This is here in our little area. This is everywhere. This is across the country. And it's concentrated where there are Native American, like homelands, housing areas. And there's one in Michigan. There's some in Ohio. I mean, it's everywhere. But why don't we hear about it? And I remember even a few years ago hearing about the, problems and issues and controversies of fracking. Didn't hear any connection at all with any trafficking that may be happening, because this is what's expected. If you read the entire chapter and what comes before in the book.
Well, we know they are reading it, but when you get there.
There we go. She talks a little bit more in depth about that. I mean, this is just, one kind of extracted passage. But this is what these workers expect when they go out on a job and they're staying in these hotels for extended periods. This is just what I guess it's like part of their benefit. I don't know. It's unbelievable. It is. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around it. And being the parent of 3 females, it's frightening to think that, I don't know, what is with us?
Why don't we hear about this on the news? The way I hear about it is us talking about it word of mouth.
Right.
Or like in an academic setting.
In a setting that is specifically set to discuss this sort of thing, even in a general history, government, civics type course, you're not going to hear it unless you do something like we do with that big read.
I wish that I could say that it's not surprising, this is the problem with Indigenous people. I mean, we don't even, like, the amount of missing and murdered, which missing may be trafficked individuals that exist, that this has happened to, that we don't even hear about.
Right.
And like, I'm thinking about this because my class is just finishing up right now for our exhibit next semester, the Faces of exhibit. And that'll be centralized around missing and murdered Indigenous women. So it'll be their story, their photo. What's uncanny is within the classes that I've done it in, and then the other instructors who have done that, they're all like sending them now. It's like there's hardly any overlaps, which is like scary to think about how there's like not overlaps.
Right.
And that there's so many that the students wouldn't have overlapped.
Right. They're all just faceless. They didn't even make the milk carton. You know what I mean? They're just faceless people who have just vanished. It's as though their family has little support, if any support, in trying to find out what happened to them. I just can't. We need to change things. And I feel that by us choosing this theme for our big read this year and doing the podcast and having discussions through events and in classroom settings, that we are doing our part to start a conversation. And now these conversations need to be taken outside of these walls and be continued so that there's awareness throughout our entire community on this.
I think it's uber important, and hoping that our community partners will continue this, and from a sense our students too, like lighting that fire to say this matters and I care about this. One of my classes is actually doing an advocacy project with this, so I'll be excited to see what they do. Maybe I'll see if one of the students wants to come and talk about it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'll be pretty exciting. So,
and maybe we challenge these students too to say, okay, share one thing you have learned, one thing that you know that shocked you to your core with a friend or family member, and ask them to. It's kind of like, paying it forward.
So much of change happens just by education and awareness.
Absolutely.
So I think that's super important. So, but I think that's going to do it for us today. This has been a longer episode, but a very important one.
Yeah.
Please keep listening big as we keep talking big.
That's right.
And then you keep talking big from us, from listening to us.
Pass it on.
Right? Exactly. Because I guess that's the theme of today. For Jane Berger and myself, Jen Hazel, and that really is me. And we'll see, maybe next week my voice will be back. Keep talking big.
Catch Let's Talk Big on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio every Thursday at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 7 p.m., and 10 p.m., and at various times throughout the week. Or listen anytime on the Owens Outcomes Student Media Center YouTube channel. Let's Talk Big on the Owens Outcomes Student Media Center YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. And join us again here for Let's Talk Big, the big read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel.